Well, hi my friends. This is Jay, and this is Jay's Knit and Purl Jam. And yes, I know, look, I'm on November's calendar, but I'm telling you, victory is about to be won, and I want to go ahead and get this sweater started before November rolls in and everyone is just so excited. Well, how are you? I'm doing great. We're doing fine. We're just moving, trying to move with the flow, staying safe, and I'm just trying to keep busy, just like you. So I want to go ahead and start. This is November's tutorial, and let's see if I can get the name right. This is Jay's Knit top-down sweater. This is 3 times the charm. This is my top-down sweater. This is the name is 3 times the charm. This is my 3rd one, and like I promise you, I've been working on it, and you know, I had to start over and rework. So this is really the prototype. So I made some changes when we actually get started to knit the sweater, but I had to go ahead and I thought, well, I have this one, so I'll go ahead and photograph this one and walk you through a little bit and just show you what I was thinking, you know, when I came up with the sweater. Well, as you can see, woohoo, top down again. Now, if you've worked with me before, you know we've had a top down 101, that was the first one. And then I did a top down, the second one, where I put the lace on the edges and share with you how to make a pretty lace edge on both sides and work the stitches. Now, we have, you know, numbers or schematic for that sweater. But that was a cardigan. A cardigan, I really didn't try, I wasn't trying to make it close and like a full sweater in the front. So, when I decided to do this 3rd one, 3 times the charm, you know, I had to take into account that this would be closed front and back, and the only way you can get in it is to make sure you can get your head in the neck opening. And, you know, some of you have said, you know, sometimes, yeah, I got a little something in the front that I need to kind of make sure I can get over. So on this one, I simply, and I will go over all of this, but I simply raise or change the numbers slightly. I made a slight fluffy end upgrade. I just carried the numbers up just a little bit, just to give a little more room, so that, like I said, because this sweater is closed in the front and closed in the back. But we have to make sure we can get it over our heads. So let's take a look at it real quick. Like I said, this is just a prototype, so the one we're going to work in real time is going to have a little difference. It's going to have a little more, just be a little nicer, I think. So as you can see, here is, starting at the top, we will start working at the collar. We will work from the collar down to the neck, then down to our detail, and this is a design. This is just a pretty leaf motif, leaf panel that just comes down the front. I just wanted a little bit. I didn't need a whole lot. You know, when you're fluffy, you don't want too much in the front, too much texture. You know, it just adds weight to you. And of course, we have our raglan increased sleeves. And like I said, I'm going to go through the whole go through all my numbers and everything, but I won't do all the math. I'm going to just go ahead and give you the formats. And then later on, if I decide to, I may, if enough people want me to, I can, you know, do the math and show you how I got the numbers. And of course, then you're going to wind up knitting your sleeve. And I usually do a 3/4 inch length sleeve, like a bracelet. So if the sleeve looks short, that's just because they come, I normally fit my sleeve right around here. So that's why they look a little short, but you'll be able to make your sleeves any length. And of course, you go on down to the bottom. Let's see if I'm on camera. And just like we started the sweater, there we go. Let me put it up a little bit more. We will end with a nice ribbing on the bottom. We carry the little leaf motif panel all the way down to the bottom, and then we will have, then you can just Then we'll just put in some ribbing at the bottom. A nice wide ribbing. At least 1.5 inches, maybe even 2 if you're tall. Will work just fine. And the back, of course, is just plain regular back. Just regular stockinette because we will be knitting in the round, of course. Top down, 3 times the charm. And then I'm going to go over all the supplies and give you a yarn suggestion. And then, like I said, then I'm going to share my formulas with you so that you can go ahead and start getting things together while we're waiting on the big event next week. But all the while, I'm going to have you, for those that are ready, we will be knitting. Now, I'm going to give 2 versions. I'm going to have a simpler version for, newer knitters, but you understand the concept, and you've worked maybe some of my things, but maybe, it's not going to be as long as this one. This one is more for my seasonal knitter, not seasonal, but seasoned knitters. A little more advanced knitters that, you've got the top down, you like that. Like my friend Jacqueline Mills, she says, Jay, I love top down. I know you've been waiting, Jacqueline, so thank you. Thank you for waiting. And I'm going to change the increase. I use the yarn over increase, but I really don't like all these little holes on this one, so I think I'm going to change the increase on the one we're going to be doing in real time. So I made some changes in the design. Like I said, we're designing, so we can change if we want to. It's our party, and we can cry if we want to. What do you think of that? Isn't that pretty? All right, so the next thing I want to show you, this is just an overview. Let me show you, go ahead and get some supplies ready, and then I will go have a little surprise for you. All right, let me just get clear this up, and you'll know what you're looking at and what you're going to need. All right, back in just a minute. All right, let's talk about the needles first, in case some of you, you're going to have to go and take inventory and see if you have these. Like I said, this is my sweaters, and once I moved up to a number 9, like I said, fluffy. I just like the feel of it. It gives me a nice, comfortable fit using the number 9s. When I was using my number 8s, of course, I was a little smaller, and that was great too. But like I said, most of you have tried the other sweaters, and you are used to working with number 9 needles. I use US number 9s, and these are Clovers. Not sponsored or anything, but these are great needles for new knitters or older knitters like me that you have problems with arthritis and elbow problems and wrist problems, and even neck and shoulder problems. It's just a nice, comfortable, and they're very light. All right, now let's start. Just real quick. All right, I'm using all number 9s except for one needle, and I'll tell you about that one needle when we get to it. Have I lost it already? I'll find it. All right, to start out with, I said I have 2 versions. The only difference is the beginner or newer knitter version, you won't do the large collar. You're just going to do a regular neck line, and I'm going to help you with adding a new stitch. We're just going to do the twisted rib just to kind of add a little interest. But you won't have to do the large collar because it takes quite a bit of work. It's going to take you more time. I'd much rather you put your time and invest in knitting the leaf motif as we come down the sweater and get used to that. So the first needle, and then like I said, my more seasoned knitters, you are going to get the one that I shared with you with the collar, and I'll go over that in just a minute, what you're going to need. But everyone will need a number 9. Let's see if I'm on camera. Maybe if I turn it, let's see, can I get the glare off? There we go. Okay. Everyone will need at least a number 9, 24 or 29. 24, especially the version number 1 for the newer knitters. We're going to be knitting in around, and so we've got to have a needle small enough to make that neck opening so that we can connect to knit in the round. The smaller one under this is a 9/16, but you'd have to scrunch your stitches up so tight. So if you're gonna knit sweaters, a 9/29 or a 9/24 or a 9/29. These are just standard sizes. You can find these pretty much anywhere. I always get mine at Joann's with a coupon. No problem. Or Michael's. No problem. They're just needles that you need to have to knit sweaters with me. So that's the one needle. Then as we clear your neck area and start working down towards the sleeve or the underarms, or the shoulders. Let's do that, the shoulders. All right, you will have to switch because, well, you can keep scrunching up on the 24 or 29, but eventually you need to move up to a 9/36 in length. Still a number 9, but now you're getting a little longer, 36 in length. Does that make sense? As the sweater grows, as we go around and round, okay, and we're going to be increasing every round, then it'll get too large for this needle, so we have to go to a 36. And eventually, for larger sizes, or taller people, or people that are just broader or larger around, as you get towards the bottom of the sweater, you may have to go all the way down, especially after we separate the arms, the sleeves and do the underarm. You may have to do, as I do, I go to a 9/48. And I can use this 9/48 and work all the way down to the bottom of my sweater. It may come in a 52. I don't have that one, but I do have plenty of 48s because I caught a sale one time and I got a bunch. So that takes care, that's from the neck to the shoulders, and then this needle will take you all the way to the bottom. Does that make sense? Now, if you're a small person, you probably can stay on the 36, small to medium. But for us more fluffier girls, it's good to have a larger in-length needle, like say a 48 or 50 or 52. I don't know the other sizes. All right, then once we separate for the sleeve, you will need, remember, I go ahead and put both my sleeves on my 16-inch. I go ahead and get them ready, so anytime that I'm ready to do my sleeves, I don't have to try to find a needle. They're both on needles, number 9/16 inches in length. I have one for the left sleeve and one for the right. It's all ready. They're all ready to go once I get around there. They're out somewhere. I got them in the sweater, I guess. But I got them. And then eventually, when you get down to our cuff of the sleeve, we will eventually have to go down, to double points. I went over there and bought that little number 9, the little tiny one. Oh, that's the worst thing. Of all the clover needles, that is the worst. That is a ripoff. I had a good coupon, but it was like $15. But that one, don't get that one. I don't ever say anything disparaging, but that is just the worst needle of all. I could take it back, but I'll just keep it. So, but I have plenty of double points. So, and besides, this is a necessary part of knitting. It's just something you just need to get used to. We don't have to use them that often. Now, some people like to go down to a number 8 for their cuffs on their sleeves. You could easily do that, especially if you're a small person and you have little tiny wrists and all that. You could have a number 8 double pointed needles. They're usually 5 in a set, just like this. It would be clover. I'm just going to stay with number 9s. Make it easy for everyone, especially if you're of the fluffy side. It just makes your sweater it keeps everything in proportion, and it just looks nice. But, but there it is. Now, the one extra needle that I have that we're going to use for my season or advanced knitters, in order to do the collar and to get the collar, let's see if I can get the glare off, we need a big, long, we're going to add stitches to our neckline. Once I show you the schematic and everything, everyone that will be doing the second version with the collar, the roll down, what do you call that collar? Anyway, that real pretty collar. All right, we're going to add stitches, and I suggest you have a number 10, 29 inches. A number 10, but 29 inches in length. Does that make sense? We're going up to do the collar, and then once we finish the collar, and I'm going to walk you through a lot of it, then you will simply switch when it's time to decrease, because we're going to add stitches, so we'll have to decrease and get back to our number 9 needle to work the, finish the neckline and start working on the towards the shoulders. So that's the only different needle for the advanced knitters or seasoned knitters. Just go ahead and get yourself a number 10, 29 inches or 24 inches. You can even use a 36 inch. And if you don't have that, and I'm trying not to have you to buy anything, if you have it in straight needles, maybe you say, oh, Jay, well, I don't have in the circular. Can I use it on? I have some straight needles. Yeah, you can use some straight needles. This is not the right size, but sure, you could use some straight needles to do the collar. Okay? But you need a number 10. We just went up in size. All right, I think that's the needle, all the needles. Just so now that you can go ahead and start preparing, looking through your stash of needles to see what you have. If you have, while Joanne's still, they're going to have a lot of coupons now. So if you don't have them and you enjoy knitting the sweater, so I will keep adding new top downs and new designs in the ones that we have. Go ahead, because they will be worked on number 9s. All right, now let me show you the yarn. Be back in just a minute. All right, you know that I use just plain number 4 weight yarn. It's just, I do some things, shawls and things, in a number 3. But when you're fluffy, it just takes forever to knit a sweater or a poncho or whatever in a number 3 for our size. So I just got used to making my sweaters in number 4 weight yarns. If you can work out the numbers, you're welcome to use whatever. And of course, you can use any quality that you want. These are just my standard yarns that I use, that I'm accustomed to. I know what they're going to do, and they have never failed me. They look beautiful every time I look at them. They just always look nice. Every once in a while you get some bad yarn, some duds, or maybe a yarn, that maybe doesn't really qualify for a sweater weight or sweater. And you just learn from the experience and move on to the next yarn. It's up to you. All right, so the sweater that you saw, the first one, the sample, over at Joann's, they had, I noticed how Joanne is not carrying, they moved to a different location, beautiful upscale store with every kind of modern flat screens on the wall, beautiful teaching stations. Oh my gosh, and the wall in the back of the store completely to the ceiling with yarn. I don't know who gets up there to put it all the way to the ceiling, but it's almost all the way to the ceiling. Just a whole wall. But I noticed they are basically pushing their store kind of brand. That Big Twist. They have just fallen off. I mean, they do not carry the yarns that they used to carry, where we could go in there and just where your mouth would just salivate looking at, some of the different brand, even though they were acrylic and store-bought yarn, and, it's big box yarn, but they always had a great variety or selection. Now they're just pushing that Big Twist. But anyway, I did find this line brand, Heartland, and you can use the original Heartland, but this is new. It has a different band, so I don't know if they have a new vendor. But it has the same name, Heartland. But as you can see, it's new and different. And there's 251, so I think that's about what the old one was. I didn't think to compare it. Oops, sorry. So, but this is what that sweater is made of. Now, according to your size, I went ahead and got. You're going to need anywhere from 4 to 5 skeins of yarn. It just depends on your size and everything. You should know now, I can't tell you how many to buy. I just always buy in 4s. And then if I know that I'm going to add a sleeve or something special, this had a collar, I just went ahead and got an extra one. So I have 5 skeins. I didn't want to have to stop and go back and buy it. But here it is. This is the yarn. This was Voyager or something. Voyager. That's the name of it. It's kind of a blue grayish. All right, then I also picked up this one. I started to do this one, but then, I kind of use my calendar to help me kind of get a color theme. And she had all blue, and I thought, oh, mercy. But this is the same yarn. This is the new one. And this color is just called Valley. It has a purplish or plum color, a plum looking tint to it. Really nice, very nice, and knits up like a dream. It does have a lot of that fluff, but it knits like a dream, and it has a weight to it. When you feel it, it doesn't feel heavy. But once I knit it in the sweater, it's going to be a nice warm sweater, which is like what I would have expected or used my Vanna. They've taken Vanna. Thank goodness I bought up a whole bunch, but I still need to try to buy more. I need to buy more. It was always my sweater yarn. It was always my yarn of choice. So, but Vanna will work great. If you're like me and you got a stash, you better go ahead and use it, people, because you won't be able to find any, eventually you won't be able to find it, or they'll jack the price up. This is Peacock. I just pulled some off the shelf. You're going to use whatever color you want. And, of course, again, you're going to need, I have at least 5 skeins. All right, and then, of course, for people who are not in such colder weather, like I said, we're getting ready to go in cold weather, but there are people on the opposite side who are going to be in a little lighter, warmer weather. All right, but still might want to do this sweater, and it can transition either to a, cold weather or a slightly warm weather. Not hot, but warm. All right, here's my standard Caron Simply Soft, and of course it comes in pastel colors, comes in all colors. Just a great yarn that I have used, and I have used it with number 9s, so I know it works even though they call for a number 8. But here it is in a nice little gray tone, but they have colors, tons and tons of colors. Everyone knows this yarn. And what I'm going to practice, or the one I'm working in real time, I'm going to use Red Heart Soft. Boy, this was like my hidden jewel. I kept this all hidden away. And then what happens is when you hide yarn away and you save it, even old store-bought yarn, when you go back and then you realize you don't have enough, then you can't find it to match. Well, I was able, thank goodness, I had enough. But once I started knitting, I noticed there was some color distortion. I don't know, it was down in the yarn, down in there. But I'm going to go ahead and hopefully continue to work in this, and hopefully it won't be too bad. If it is too bad, this is just my, this is just the tutorial. And but this is what happens when you try to hold on and hoard yarn. It just becomes of no value. And nobody's going to pay you more than what you paid for it. So I'm going to just go ahead and just use and hope it doesn't look too bad. Like I said, it's just for me. All right, so that's the yarn. All right, the next thing I want to show you is your schematics. And I'll show you how I had to come up with how to get it, how I had to write it up. So let me clear this up, and then we'll get on to the next section. Your numbers, your schematic, and how you're going to make your sweater fit. Back in just a moment. So now you notice that I went ahead and I've just worked out all the math and put 3 different schematics on the screen. Now what you have to do is decide which one of those that you feel you could fit into. Now I notice when I go to Walmart or somewhere and I buy my little white shells, I have to buy a 2X. But when I knit for myself, I'm always I can fall a little, I can go a little smaller. So that's why I'm able to do a 1X, large to 1X. So look and see if you're small to medium, you know. And remember, the knit's going to stretch. So if you're a little over, that's all right because the knit stretches. Hand knitting stretches. I'm going to be walking you through, or use myself as an example. I'm large to 1X. And then I went ahead and tried to work out for 2X to 3X. Now, I'm going to walk you through, using myself as an example, what you saw on the screen, the schematic. You need to make a copy. You need to just draw it up. Just put it on pause, take a sheet of paper, and draw up the one that you feel that you will fit into. Does that make sense? All right, now, what do all these numbers mean? All right, from small to medium, you're going to have an increase number. We're going to have to increase up. So I started at 24. That's pretty much like the cardigan increase. I'm in the middle. I'm large to 1X. I'm going to do 26 increases, and 2X to 3X, you're going to do 28 increases. All right, first of all, here's the little drawing of the neck of the sweater. My little fruit. Look, this is old school 101. Okay. So you have a back of the sweater, and you have the front of the sweater. And of course, you have 2 sleeves. All right, don't worry about the 2 sleeves, but okay, let me just say this. On the cardigan, some of you have done the cardigan sweater. It's made to be worn open, okay? And so, but like I've said before, you know, some people, this sweater is going to be closed. So I took that into account, and I went up 4 stitches. Since my numbers are numbers divisible by 4, in order to get a pattern or create a design, you have the option to go up 4 stitches or come down 4 stitches to make it work. So I simply went up 4 stitches from my previous cardigan number. And you can look yours up and see, or if you're just going to start with me with where we are. So I'm at 92 stitches. 92 stitches for the back of my sweater, not the arms, just the back. Okay? And then 92 stitches from the front. All right, that's the end number of where I want to be when I get to the bottom of the sweater. 92 stitches at least. You know, you may be a little over, a little under, but you want to be at least whatever your number is at the bottom, the larger number at the bottom of the sweater when we're all done knitting. Well, you can't start with that number. You have to start with a number that's less because we need to increase. So for me, on my large to 1X, it's 40 stitches. 40 stitches. If I increase 40 stitches for this back section 26 times, I'm going to come back to 92. I get the same number in the front, 40 stitches. I increase this 40 stitches 26 times, I'm going to come back to 92. I'm where I want to be at the end of the sweater to fit my fluffy body. Before in the cardigan, what gave me so many problems, and I won't go through a whole lot of it. So now I'm just going to assign sleeves. I'm just going to assign sleeves a number. And right now I'm working with the number 8. So everyone, everywhere, every size, you're going to start with 8 stitches for the top of the sweater up here at the neck. You get 8 stitches. We'll put in markers. You'll know, when we get ready to put in markers. All right, instead of and we're going to start increasing. And look at your increase number and just use it for, just take that number that I'm assigning to you. I'm going to use 52 stitches. That's where I want to stop the sweater, my sleeve, okay, as I'm going around and round and knitting and increasing. I'll stop every once in a while and count my sleeve to see if I'm close to my sleeve count. You may say, well, Jay, that number might be too small. That even looks okay. What you have to remember is, once we get to the sleeve number, and then we, stop the sleeve and go ahead and work on the rest of the sweater. Then when we come back, there's a big gap up under your arm. There's a big gap under the sleeve that we have to fill in. And you're going to get to fill in that same number, whatever this number is that we started with, 8 for the sleeve. We're going to fill in 8 stitches at the bottom. 8 stitches on this sleeve, 8 stitches on this sleeve to fill in that gap. So that brings my sleeve count up to where I really want it to be, and that's 60 stitches. I just simply took the number that I really needed my sleeve to be, 60, okay? And I took 8 out from it, and I get 52. That's the number I'm going to keep increasing until I get to 52. Stop for the sleeve. Now, if you need to keep on increasing for the rest of the sweater, but usually it works itself out that that's where a good place to stop. But we're going to do all that. All right, now real quick, because I don't want to waste a lot of time on this, because once we start working, you'll see how it all falls into place. So now, if I add 40, because that's where I want to start. I don't want to start with the big number. I want to start with 40 and 40. And then I add 8 and 8. I have a cast on number of 96 stitches for my large to 1X. You'll have to look on your schematic to see how many stitches you need to cast on. So a beginner person, a large to 1X, and you're still fairly new and you're not doing the collar, you're going to just cast on 96 stitches, and then you're going to wait for me there, because then I'm going to get you started on the neck, and I'm going to add the twisted rib for you. If you are a seasoned knitter and you want to, and you're this size, you're my size or whatever, or one of the others, all stitches you add after you cast on 96 or whatever your number is, you're going to add 13 more stitches for the collar, and you will be casting this number on with the number 10. Remember, if you're going to do the collar, I need for you to get out a number 10 and cast that number on plus 13 extra stitches. Make sense? Makes sense. All right, that's it. So now the next thing we want to do is to, I am going to get my seasoned knitters started first, because they have a lot more work to do. So I will be back and we will look at or walk you through the cast on, just to make sure we're on the same page. All right, everyone, go ahead and take a sheet of paper and draw up your own schematic out of the 3 that I have posted. All right, back in just a minute. All right, so here's my sample of the sweater I'm working in real time. Like I said, some old yarn, and there's a color, I don't know, a distortion in the color, something happened. Anyway, but it's just, hey, practice, practice. All right, so you can see that I have cast on. I had 96. Remember, I'm large to 1X, so I cast on 96 plus 13 extra stitches. My total is 109 stitches. All right, and however you cast on, I just did a long tail cast on, and I started. Now, we just finished another sweater, the video before the tutorial. It always starts the same way. The first row on when I cast on is a wrong side row, so I start with the edge stitch. I knit the first and last stitch on my row. But so the first stitch I'd knit, and then I'd go into purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, all the way across till there's 2 stitches left. I should end with a purl stitch, and then I would have 1 stitch left, which I will knit. I knit the first and last stitch. You can slip or however you do. All right, so it's always the same. So see, you don't have to go back. I don't have to just reteach that all the time. That's what I just need, a ribbing back and forth. Now, reason I'm starting you first, because this ribbing needs to be long to make this collar. On my blue one, the one that I had in the pictures, I got lazy and tired, and I thought, oh, I'll stop about 6. No, I have about 5 now. I need to go up to at least 8 inches to make this collar really work and fold over. If you're taller, you're talking about 9 or 10 inches, because the collar has to fold over the front of the sweater. And if you don't give it enough height, or you don't make it wide enough, you know, it's just not going to fold over really pretty enough. So that's why I'm getting you started. So you're just going to start now. However many, just keep working. Take a rest, take a break. Because you'll be able to catch up. I'm going to start the beginners or the new knitters on just doing a regular neckline. Once you get up to however many inches, like I say, it's going to be long. Just wait for me there, because we are going to take, once we get up to enough good amount of inches, we're going to connect this and go into the round. I will come back and tell you what to do. We're going to connect and start working in the round. All right? And then we have to decrease those 13 stitches. Well, we have to decrease 12 of them. We'll leave that one extra one. But we'll have to decrease once you get the number of inches that you need, or that will look good. But don't get tired. Don't give out. Don't give up. Don't give in. Keep going. Like I say, I'm going to go at least to 8 inches on here, maybe over a little bit, just so that I will have a prettier collar than I had on the blue one. Does that make sense? I am on my number 10s. You need to cast on the number 10, work the whole thing. Once I come back and we get ready to connect in the round, then we'll have to do a decrease row. By then, we're on our number 9s. You'll have your number 9s ready. You'll get the cord ready. Remember how you take it to the ironing board and iron it, put a towel and iron it. Make sure your number 9, 24 or 29, 9 is ready to go. All right, that is for my seasoned knitters. See, I can just walk you through this part. You just need to make sure that you really do a nice wide, or, wide collar. All right. I will check back in with you later. And once you finish, just wait for me there. All right, so I'm back, and I'm going to get my newer knitters started. The ones that are, or the ones who are just not doing the collar. You're just going to start with the neckline. Now, if you're going to be working from your schematic, I'm working from mine, and from my large to extra large, I'm to cast on 96 stitches onto my number 9 needle. I have a number 9 24-inch in length needle here. Now, if you are a smaller size, small, and you go, well, when I cast on J, I can't quite get my stitches up to the point to meet, then you have to just maybe pick up the number 9/16. A number 9/16. That just means your stitches are going to be scrunched up a little more, but we have to be able to connect the two ends together in order to knit into the round. So you just adjust by going down a needle size, or in lengthwise. So a 9/16 will work just fine too. And then you can change to a 9/29 or a 24 as we go around, as we get towards start increasing. That's what I want to say. All right, so here's my my cast on stitches, and if you new to this, just real quick, it's just a lot easy if you have something like a towel, a little hand towel. It just holds your stitches in place, and you have to make sure that everything is lined up, because you don't want to twist once we connect the two ends of the stitches. And as you can see, all of my stitches are facing. You can tell this little rib, or this little seam here, they're all facing in. I'm right-handed, so I'm going to make sure that my working yarn that's attached to my ball or skein of yarn is on my right side. If you're continental knitter or you're left-handed, you apparently already know how to adjust for that. All right. Now, after I cast on my 96 stitches, this is how I connect. You may connect, maybe you've gone to a knit shop and they may have taught you something else. Just use whatever's comfortable. I have 96, but I'm going to go ahead and add one more. So I'm just going to long tail cast on one more stitch. So now I have 97. on my needle. All right. Now all I do, I grab the tail and the working yarn, and I used to just put my marker in as I later on in the round, but I don't want to confuse newer knitters, so I'm gonna go ahead and get me a marker. Make sure you have a variety of markers, but you need several the same color when we get ready to increase. So I'm going to take this green here, and before I do that, I'm going to take that last stitch that I just put on this right hand needle, and I'm going to transfer it to my left hand needle, just like that. But I still have my tail and working yarn over here. I pop on my marker so that I don't want new knitters to get confused. Alright, now these last two stitches on the left hand needle right there, you see them. Alright, I'm just going to knit those two stitches together. I'm just going to go in, because we're going to be working the 1 by 1 rib, but we'll just put, we'll do the twisted. But for this first stitch, just get it in there. Just knit that first stitch just like that. Hold on to both ends and knit that first stitch just like that, and then tighten up. Now I have my marker, okay, for the newer knitters. Go ahead and put it in. Sometimes some of the newer knitters said they would forget to put the marker in, so that's why I'm doing it now. Alright, now I go ahead, and then the next stitch is a purl, so I bring the yarn in front and I simply purl. I still have both strands, holding it tight, and put a little tug on it. Now in the back, now I can drop the tail. It's secure, it's locked in. Now I can drop the tail. Now watch. Now we're simply going to start the 1 by 1 ribbing. Okay, we've knit, we've purled, now we're going to knit again, but in every knit stitch around, starting now, every knit stitch around, I want you to knit into the back of the stitch. Normally we knit just like that, but I want you to go into the back, go down into the back of every knit stitch, just like that. So now I'm going to knit that stitch through the back loop, then yarn in front and purl the next stitch. Tug where you need to, yarn in back, and knit the stitch through the back loop. Every knit stitch, just real easy. What I'm trying to do is, because this is the only way we can get this sweater onto our body, is to keep going through the, putting it over our heads. I thought, well, if I do the twisted stitch, maybe it would give the neckline more stability. Because 1 by 1 ribbing, that's what it does. It's like an accordion. It just stretches and stretches, and maybe your tension is not so great yet, and maybe it won't go back, and maybe your neckline will start looking kind of wobbly. Hopefully this will give a little stability by us knitting through the back loop on every knit stitch. So see, every knit stitch, I just knit through the back loop. Then yarn in front. Now I purl that just like you normally purl the stitch. Oops, let's see, can I do that again? You just purl that stitch. Yarn in back. Okay, knitting. See, it goes through the back. I hope I'm on camera here. See, it goes back through there. Alright, so you knit through the back loop and then purl the next stitch. Knit through the back loop. After a while it just slides right in there because you're really pointing in the right direction. Knit through the back loop and then purl the next stitch. Alright, so now, can't tell much yet. So you're going to continue to work around, all the way around, and I will catch up with you as we get closer to the marker to make sure that you came out right. Alright, take your time and remember, knit through the back loop of every knit stitch. Now, alright, be back shortly. Alright, so I'm coming up to my marker, and I thought this is a good chance to, in case you had a miscount like I had. I guess during my talking I may have added, when I added that extra stitch, I may have added it before I started talking or filming and didn't realize it. So as I'm coming up, a lot of times I will get up and I'll go first I went back and checked everything, make sure I didn't have 2 knit stitches or 2 purl stitches. So everything checked out. I had a knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit. I have a purl. So then I'd go ahead and count knit, purl, and then for some reason I have an extra stitch. Like I said, I probably just miscounted. So I know I'm going to have to take care of that last stitch. So let's get to it. So I have a knit, purl. Now I'm going to knit through the back loop of every knit stitch, yarn in front, and purl. Just like that. Then yarn in back, knit through the back loop, and then now watch. I should end with a purl because I started with a knit stitch, and when you're going in knitting in the round, you don't want 2 knit stitches to meet each other. You want a purl, then a knit. Alright, so all I know that I need to bring yarn in front and just simply purl those last 2 stitches. So if you had a little miscount too, just go to the end and put your needle under both stitches and just purl those 2 stitches. Now I should have a purl, and of course when I slide the marker like this, I'm back to the beginning of the round. This marker represents the beginning of the round. It's going to be very important as we continue working the sweater. And then of course I'll start with a knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, working the 1 by 1 ribbing. Now remember, every knit stitch, especially now, you go into the back of the stitch and pick up, and since I had 2 strands from when I was holding the tail, just go under both. Now knit through the back loop, tighten up, come in front, purl the next stitch. Tighten, and then make sure, now you just, knit through the back loop, just like that. Go in that direction. Old habits are hard to break, aren't they? Okay, yarn in front, now purl, and you read your stitches as you go. That would also let you know if there was a mistake somewhere that you didn't catch. Alright, so knit, purl, so I'm ready to knit the next one through the back loop. Yarn in front, now purl. Alright. And purl. Knit the next one through the back loop. It's a knit stitch, so I know I'm right. So you're just learning how to read the stitches as you go around. Alright, yarn in front, now purl. Look at the next stitch, it's a knit stitch, so knit that one through the back loop. And then purl the next stitch. Knit the next one through the back loop and purl. Alright, now now we are working in rounds. We're just going to go round and round on this little neck. Work on the 1 by 1 rib. I suggest that you work around at least 7 rounds. Complete number 7. Go around and round and just kind of keep track. You can mark or whatever. I'll show you later how to count. There's not enough on here to count, but work all the way through round 7 till you get back to the beginning of the round, and that would start number 8. That's where I want to meet you before you get into number 8, because we're going to stop the neck at that point and start getting ready to put in markers and getting ready to get our pretty leaf motif and how we're going to put in. Like I said, have plenty of markers. Alright, you've got a little work to do. Now I'll go back and catch my the other group, the collar group, up, and see where they are. Get them on the same page. Alright, take care, and don't forget to knit through the back loop on every knit stitch. And do it all the way around for 7 rounds. Alright, back in just a moment. Alright, so I am back with my knitters that are doing the version with the collar. Now, we're going to have to pretend a little bit so we can go ahead and get through, because I'm not going to use this, I'm not going to finish working on this one. I'm going to switch to the other one. But here's the collar, and you were supposed to knit back and forth so many inches. You know, like I said, I really should have had 8 inches just to make a pretty roll. But that was up to you, not to get tired, but to keep going. So now we're pretending. So you've got to the point where, okay, Jay, I've got enough. I'm fine. Okay. So I'm on the right side here of my collar. And you should still be on your number 10, because that's the needle we were working in. Now go ahead and pick up your number 9 and make sure the cord is, you know, kind of straightened out. You know how to take it to the ironing board or whatever. Now I got ahead of myself and I've already got it off my 10, but we're going to pretend now. So I'm on the right side. I'm still on the 10, but I need to get off the number 10 because the sweater's done in the number 9. The 10 was just to make the collar nice and fluffy and wide and just really, you know, to relax it. So, all right, I take my cap off, and now we're going to, we'll pretend this, I'm just acting like this is my number 10. Now, here's my number 9. I have knit stitches and purl stitches. So what all I need you to do is to start knitting with your number 9 and just start knitting across every stitch to get the stitches off your number 10 needle. We want to get rid of that number 10. So that's the first thing we have to do. Well, before we even do that, let me just ask you to do this. Before you start knitting this row all the way across, sit and count your stitches. See if you have the right amount. The cast on number plus 13. For me, I should have 109 stitches. I counted them right off camera. I have 109. I need that number to be that odd number, and you'll see why in just a minute as we get ready to connect. So now back to knitting to get the stitches off your number 10 and knit them onto your number 9. All we're doing is just knitting across the front of this collar, and hopefully you mark the back. I didn't say that because you're seasoned, so way down here, you see I went ahead and marked my wrong side from the right side so that I will know when I got ready to connect. It's going to be important. Alright, so I need you to just knit across to get rid of that number 10, and all your stitches by the time you get to the end will be on your number 9 here. I will come back as we get closer to the edge. Alright, so we're just knitting along now, and then we'll be ready to connect. Back in just a minute. Alright, so now I've had to do this video a couple of times, but I think I have it down now. It was hard trying to remember all my steps. Okay, so of course we have knit across, and we've changed all these stitches from knits and purls to all knit stitches. We're on the right page. Now I'm simply going to turn the work just like we would normally turn, and now we're going to bring the two needles points together so that we can connect. And remember, because we added this collar, we added 13 stitches. Okay. Alright, when we connect, we're going to get rid of one of the stitches, and that's going to leave us 12 extra stitches. So I'll show you, we'll just decrease that by just knitting across, knitting 2 together where we need to. But first, let's connect. So now I have my 2 points. I bring them together, and I take that 1 extra stitch, just like I would normally connect, go knitting in the round. I like to transfer 1 stitch over, so there's that extra stitch right there. Then I knit these 2 stitches. Well, let's put a marker, because this is going to be the beginning of a round somewhere. So beginning. Alright, so I put a marker. Now I'm going to knit these 2 stitches together on my left hand needle, because my yarn is coming in from the right direction. And I just have to kind of pull it tight. It won't be a great it won't be the best connection, but as long as we've got it connected so we can knit in the round. So, oops. Just do that and pull it through. My yarn is split. I've re-knit this yarn so many times it's split. But that's okay. We'll just keep going. Alright, so now let me just take another couple of stitches just to make sure I've got the connection. Alright, now we can talk. So it's connected. It's not great, but don't worry about it. We'll take care of any holes or anything like that when we're all done. Alright, so the next thing I want to do, like I said, we have 12. I just took care of 1. We had 13 stitches. I just used 1. Now I have 12 more to get rid of, or to decrease, to get down to my original cast on number. For me, it's 96. You have to look at your schematic. All right, and see how many you have to decrease. The next thing I want to do is just kind of divide this this neck in half, just kind of with my eye, so I don't have to do any more math. Just kind of say, okay, that's about the half right there. So I'm going to put me a marker here so I can just eyeball it, so I don't have to do any more math. And you're going to hear some outside noise, but I'm determined to get this tape done. I have done it so many times. So that simply means, I'll speak up, that simply means that from where I'm here to where the mark is, I need to take out 6 or knit 2 together 6 times. Then I will do exactly the same thing. Once I cross the marker, I'll knit 2 together 6 times on that side. Voila, that takes care of the 12 stitches. You'll have to see what, like I said, what your number is. So I'm just going to knit a few stitches, just like this, not too many. And then look, just knit 2 stitches together. That's 1 decrease. All right, now I suggest, you know, Jay's old school and I can't remember all that stuff. I'm going to use my little tally sheet here, and my little tally pad. And so I'm going to just go ahead and mark 1. There's 1. All right, now I'm going to knit a few more stitches, just because I don't feel like counting and try to, well, let's see if there's some math to get it exact. Well, we don't need it exactly. We just need to get those stitches out to get back down to our original cast on number so that we can put our markers in on the next round. We don't want the wrong number. The markers won't fit. So that was, okay, I've done 1, and you can go back and see where that knit 2 together was. You can see, kind of space it out a little bit. Oh, I think it's right there, isn't it? Oh, wait, let's see. You can just kind of pull it apart. Oh, there it is, right there. All right, so that's 1. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I'll do another one right here. Okay, so I just simply knit 2 together again. Knit a few stitches. You know, spread them out as best you can. Knit 2 together. There you go. Now I'm going to mark it on my little pad. So I've done 2. I have 4 more on this side. So I just want to knit a few more stitches. Here we go. Alright, sorry about the noise, but I've got to get this tape. Alright, so now, let's see, that's 2. This will be 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, alright, let's do that. So I'll knit 2 together. Alright, and then I'll go ahead and mark. Alright, because the noise is getting so loud, I'm going to stop for a moment, but you will continue on around till you get to this marker. You should have 6 knit 2 together on this side, and of course, or whatever your number, and then you would repeat it on this side. I will see you back as we get back to this marker right there. Alright, be sure to count now. Alright, so now we have, quick recap, we knit around to clean up all the stitches, and then we did a round where we, in case you had to decrease anything, and which we did, and now you should be down. You will stop when you finish, and you would count your stitches one more time before we actually start putting our markers in. I needed to get back to my original cast on number, which is 96 for my, off of my schematic. You check yours. And so I'm coming up to that, and then that's where I think I will stop. See, now here it is. And I counted off camera. I have the marker, and I'm just going to knit 1 stitch to kind of hold it in place. Alright, so that's joining the collar now we're going to start the, you know, the neck and work down to the shoulders of the sweater. And those that have a collar will have a pretty little roll collar. I tried so hard to figure out a way to get the right size to show, but the wrong side is fine. That's the way my sweater is, and it looks just great. So I tried everything. Except calling maybe, I don't know who got the call. But anyway, so this is the, so the next step is to place markers. So I'm going to stop the tutorial here. I'm going to go over and help my newer knitters to get up to a point that we're all in the same place when we come back, this has been step one, you know, working or making your schematic. I've given you the schematic, but you still had to know how to work it. All right, so that's step one. I will come back with step two. Once I get everyone in the same place, we will be ready to put the markers for every section of your schematic. We have to, everywhere you see a line, we have to, and then right here, we're also going to have a line where, we'll also have a place where we're going to add the decorative stitch. And they'll have a pretty color, something different. Jay, are you never ready? Are you never ready, Jay? So here's my little leaf going to be like over here. There's going to be my little leaf pattern right in there. So we will also put markers for that, and we'll mark every place around so that everyone is in the right place and you have the right number of stitches in each section. All right, so I will see you shortly. You've got work to do and to get up to this point, and then just stop and wait for me there. I'm going over now to help the other group. All right, see you later. All right, so now I'm back with my new knitters, or the ones who just didn't want to do the collar. You just want the simple top down. Okay, so when I left you, you were to work on your neckband and to just knit around the one by one. This is the twisted rib. Now look at the stitch. Okay, I thought I'd throw this in to give your neckline, because this is the only way you're going to be able to put your sweater on. Here's the top of the neck right here. So this goes over your head. And so just to give it some stability over wear and time and all of that. So look at yours and see if you have anything that looks like mine. Just a nice, pretty, stand out kind of a rib, a standout stitch. You see how it just pops out. And it looks smaller. It just looks smaller than the regular stitch, one by one. It's a very loose stitch to me, especially on these number 9 needles. Okay, so now, oh, and listen, now if you said, oh Jay, but I'm lost count and I'm not sure if I have enough. If you have at least an inch or inch and a half, try to go, you were aiming, it should have brought you to about an inch and a half right here, okay? Listen, it doesn't matter. If you get all off and you're out in left field, it's okay. I'm just trying to get everybody in the same ballpark. So don't worry about that, as long as it looks something like what I have. Your nice top of the sweater. Okay, so let's see now, what else did I want to tell you? All right, so you were to, so just be, whatever you have is fine. So now I'm coming up, as I'm finishing up this. See, I had a purl one. Okay, so now that's complete. Now the next, I'm going to slide my marker. Now, all these stitches, I have knits and purls. Well, I like to clean those up. So what I want to have you to do, once you slide the marker, once you've got, you know, inch and a half or whatever, you've got, or 7 rounds. Now I just want you to knit all the way around. Just start knitting. I'm just cleaning up these stitches so I don't have knits and purls when I get ready to put my stitch markers in to separate all the different sections of the sweater. So all you have to do is just knit around, just like this. Now I've worked with the everyone that's working on the collar. And I'm trying to get everyone in the same place, so once we actually start the pattern and actually increasing in each section of the sweater, we're all together. And I'm not going to be like teaching one, it'll all be the same. Okay, so I'm just knitting around, and that's all you're going to do is just clean up these stitches all the way around. Just knit to finish off the neck. All right, once you get here, once you get back to your marker, I want you to stop. Stop there, because I'm going to end this tutorial here. We've done the neck, and now you're just knitting around to clean up. The next time we come back, the next part of the video, we will start with the next round of putting the markers. And then the next round, we actually start increasing and the pattern. It's just like boom, boom, boom. So, I hope you have enjoyed what I've shared with you so far. I hope you feel like, oh man, this is going to be really pretty. And once we change to another size needle, you'll be able to actually put this over your head and try it on, try the neck on and everything. It's not a very loose neck where it's going to show your bra straps. You know how some of the necks fall almost to the shoulder. No, but then it's not choking you either. It's not all the way up your neck. It's just in a good place, I believe. So I can't think of anything else. We've come this far. You just have to finish this one round. Be sure to put your caps on. Now, I walked away and I took my caps when I was over there working on the couch. Okay, but be sure to stick your caps on, and then I will be back with part 2. This was, well, we're going to call this steps. We're going to call these steps. This is my top down number 3, 3 times the charm. This has been step 1 to do the well, first of all, to go over our schematic, and then actually work our neckline. And I gave you a new stitch to kind of practice if you're new. It's just, like I said, they call it a twisted rib, rib. You can see it in any book, any stitch book. So I will just end it here, and then I will see you back shortly. And we will get into the fun part, the stitch, and I have another surprise too when we actually do the stitch. So I'll just save that. All right, take care and happy knitting. See you later.